Okay, well, I had to look up this word, translated from Swedish anthroposoph, and translates to English as anthroposophy, which you would expect that would mean something about human wisdom. And I'm looking it up on Wikipedia. Let's see what they have to say about it. Anthroposophy, a philosophy founded by Rudolf Steiner, postulates the existence of an objective, intellectually comprehensible spiritual world accessible to direct experience through inner development. More specifically, it aims to develop faculties of perceptive imagination, inspiration, and intuition through cultivating a form of thinking independent of sensory experience, and to present the results thus derived in a manner subjective to rational verification. In its investigations of the spiritual world, anthroposophy aims to attain this precision and clarity attained by the natural sciences in their investigation of the physical world. Now, that's not that peculiar to me. That's like when I have dreams and I feel like I'm pretty certain that in my dreams I have actually viewed things that happened to me years later, that in my dreams I've really glimpsed experiences that did take place later, that couldn't have just been random. It wasn't just like I randomly had this dream and it sort of seemed to match up and be a similar subject. There's something very specific that I was in a specific place and saw a specific thing and a specific events happened in the dreams that were exactly what happened years later. So not just random. And if that's true, when I wake up from my dreams, this is why when I wake up from dreams, I'm always trying to, it's so difficult to remember them, but I'm always trying to remember as much as I can, because I have this feeling that dreams really are not just random images. That there's been too many times that I've had the definite sensation, or even remembering a specific thing. I said, I remember I had that dream years ago, and I remember even writing it down or telling somebody about the dream. And here it happened exactly as I dreamed it. That, it seems to me to be similar to anthroposophy. It's thinking that this is really, it's not just imagination. This is something that if I really keep going at it, I can discover the actual real explanation, that there is a real explanation, and it's not just a matter of fantasy. So far, this is what I'm getting from the first paragraph about anthroposophy. Let's go on and see what else it may say about this Rudolf Steiner guy or whatever. Alright, anthroposophy has been applied practically many ideas. There's special education, blah blah blah, ethical thinking, blah blah blah, in Switzerland. The whatever the society has its international center in Dornach, Switzerland. So if somebody's knocking on your door, they might be from Dornach. The history, the early work of the founder of Anthroposophy, Rudolf Steiner, culminated in the philosophy of freedom. Here Steiner developed a concept of free will, blah blah blah. By the beginning of the 20th century, Steiner's interests were leading him further and further into explicitly spiritual areas of research. These studies were of interest to others who were already oriented towards spiritual ideas. Among these were the Theosophical Society. Theosophy was in vogue in esotericism in Germany and Austria during the time. From 1900 on, thanks to positive reception, Steiner's involvement with the Theosophical Society confirmed and reinforced his spiritual identity as a charismatic seer. This became key to breaking the feeling of imposed silence that characterized his earlier life. He not only found the woman who was to become his esoteric partner and second wife, owner of the Theosophical headquarters, he got lucky, but the answer to the question asked in his autobiography, how can I find the way to express in terms of terms understandable to my contemporaries that I inwardly perceive directly as the truth. Okay, blah 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 blah. I guess yeah, German and all that stuff, German or Austrian. So okay, he became a spiritual teacher. In 1912, the Anthroposophical Society was founded. So they've got their 100th anniversary in this year of 2012. Second World War temporarily hindered the Anthroposophical movement in most of continental Europe, as the Anthroposophism Society and most of its daughter movements were banned by the National Socialist Nazis. So the Nazis did not approve of Anthroposophism. Virtually none of them joined the Nazi Party, which is good to hear. So, although this Steiner guy was apparently Austrian or German, he was not a Nazi by any means. In fact, he was somebody the Nazis despised, and that seems to be in his favor as far as my opinion of him. Alright, central idea of spiritual knowledge and freedom, nature of the human being, evolution. The view of evolution considers all animals to evolve from an early, unspecified form. Well, that seems perfectly scientific to me. As the least specialized animal, human beings have maintained the closest connection to the archetypal form. I don't know about that. Contrary to the Darwinian conception of human evolution, all other animals devolve from... Okay, now it's getting a little bit into silly hokiness. That's a little bit ridiculous. Good is balance. The anthroposophical view is that good is found in the balance between two polar, generally evil influences on world and human evolution. Two spiritual adversaries endeavor to tempt and corrupt humanity. Now it's starting to sound like silly religion stuff. Sorry, that's how it's starting to sound. These are often described through their mythological embodiments, Lucifer and his counterpart. Okay, now when you start talking about Lucifer, then you definitely are talking about delusion and fantasy. Each human being has the task to find a balance between these opposing influences, and each is helped in this task by the mediation of the representative of humanity, also known as the Christ being, a spiritual entity who stands between and harmonizes the two. Okay, now, yeah, it's starting to get silly. It's starting to sound like some kind of combination of Christianity and Buddhism. So, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the article goes on and on. Anthroposophical medicine. Steiner gave several series of lectures to physicians and medical students. One of those grew a complementary medical movement, which now includes hundreds of doctors, chiefly in Europe and North America, and has its own clinics, hospitals, and medical schools. One of the most studied applications has been the use of mistletoe extracts in cancer therapy. Well, at least maybe it won't cure your cancer, but at least people will kiss you during Christmas. The extracts are generally no longer used to reduce or inhibit tumor growth, for which verifiable results have been found in vitro and in animal studies, but not in humans, but instead to improve the patient's quality of life by allowing them to get kissed by a lot of people when they stand under the mistletoe, and to reduce tumor-induced symptoms and the side effects of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Yeah, sometimes you listen to the radio and you need therapy, depending what station you're listening to. According to the National Cancer Institute, quote, mistletoe extract has been shown to kill cancer cells in the laboratory and to affect the immune system. However, there is limited evidence that mistletoe's effects on the immune system help the body fight cancer. Blah, blah, blah. But who knows what the American Cancer Society or National Cancer Institute, whether the statements they make about anything is really absolutely true. They don't know absolutely everything, and if they did, if they really knew absolutely everything about cancer, then they would have cured it, which they obviously have not managed to do whatsoever. Oh, this is interesting. The first Gothinium, designed by Steiner in 1920 in Dornach, Switzerland, it's a dome type of a building, and I suppose he must have admired Goethe. Steiner himself designed around 13 buildings, many of them significant works in a unique organic expressionist architectural style. Foremost among these are his designs for the 2 Goetheanum buildings in Dornach, Switzerland. Interesting. So, I mean, naming it the Goetheanum, he must have been an admirer of Goethe. Blah blah blah. More and more of these articles on Wikipedia. It used to be 1 page, and now they're like a whole book. Esoteric paths. Okay, well, I guess that's enough of an introduction. Yeah, here we go. Place in Western philosophy. Steiner built upon Goethe's conception of an imaginative power capable of synthesizing the sense-perceptible form of a thing, an image of its outer appearance, and the concept we have of that thing, an image of its inner structure or nature. Steiner added to this the conception that a further step in the development of thinking is possible when the thinker observes his or her own thought processes. Quote, the organ of observation and the observed thought process are then identical, so then the condition thus arrived at is simultaneously one of perception through thinking and one of thought through perception. Blah blah blah, I don't know, blah blah blah. A little bit more and then we'll just finish this. Though not well known among philosophers, his philosophical work was taken up by Owen Barfield, and through him influenced the Inklings, an Oxford group of Christian writers that included J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Richard Tarnas, who I don't know who he is. Christian and Jewish mystical thought have also influenced the development of Anthroposophy. Union of science and spirit. Steiner believed in the possibility of applying the clarity of scientific thinking to spiritual experience, which he saw as deriving from an objectively existing spiritual world. Steiner identified mathematics, which attains certainty through thinking itself, thus through inner experience rather than empirical observation, as the blah relationship to religion. Christ is the center of earthly evolution. Okay, blah blah blah. Divergence from conventional Christian thought. Steiner's views of Christianity diverge from conventional Christian thought in key places and including Gnostic elements. So one central point of divergence is Steiner's views on reincarnation and karma. Steiner differentiated 3 contemporary paths by which he believed it possible to arrive at Christ, and it's quite possible his use of the term Christ is more equivalent to the term Buddha, not necessarily meaningless Jesus person in particular. Through heart-filled experience of the Gospels, Steiner described this as a Gospel of St. Luke. Alright, so maybe it is. Genealogy is given 2 Gospels of generations of Jesus. His view of the second coming of Christ is also unusual. He suggested that this would not be a physical reappearance, but that the Christ being would become manifest in non-physical form, visible to spiritual vision and apparent in community life for increasing numbers of people beginning around the year 1933. Well, gee, I guess that deadline kind of passed. In fact, matter of fact, 1933 was when you could say the Antichrist appeared as Adolf Hitler taking power. Boom. Judaism. Rudolf Steiner wrote and lectured on Judaism and Jewish issues for much of his life. In the 1880s and 1890s, he took part in debates on anti-Semitism and on assimilation. He was a fierce opponent of anti-Semitism and supported the unconditional acceptance and integration of Jews in Europe, which rather explains the Nazi Party's opposition to him. He also supported Émile Zola's position in the Dreyfus affair, which is in France. Alfred Dreyfus was falsely accused of being a traitor. Rudolf Steiner emphasized Judaism's central importance to the constitution of the modern era in the West. Quote, Moses stood there as the founder of the modern intellectual worldview. Jewish themes form a very central part of this curricula of his schools, in particular the history of Moses and the establishment of the land of Israel. A number of earlier anthroposophists found were Jewish. Okay, in his later life, Steiner was accused by the Nazis of being a Jew, and Adolf Hitler labeled anthroposophy Jewish methods. Well, that continues today. Look at all the people today, just on YouTube alone, who are going around saying, oh, the Illuminati and the Freemasons are all owned by Jews, and the New World Order is